Everybody, welcome back to the Convo Couch. Everybody, happy Friday. I am Pastor Jardula.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
Oh my Lord, you start off the show like that. My mom is going to hear that now.
You started it with your whole,
I didn't mean to get,
theatrical, are you trying to compete with AOC?
No. But can I? Do I have the skills to pay the bills?
I think you might be better than her. She's better than Kamala. I'll give her that.
Well, I'm going to defer to the caucus leadership.
Glory Jones, what do you say?
Glory Jones is in the house, everybody.
Hey.
Scoop Gang.
I'm with the fam. I'm repping fam, repping Scoop Gang, repping Slow News Day. I'm here.
Yeah, your voice just lowered. I mean, you were just so much energy before we started. Now it's lowered. Can we get that Friday energy back?
Oh my God.
Listen. I'm trying to conserve it for Saturday, innit?
Oh yeah.
Fam, stop telling people to do tricks. Okay.
I know, that's right. I'm wrong. I tell people to do tricks too often. However, let me tell you this much. We've been talking about it. Glory with a megaphone. Tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, get your asses out to Echo Park. I am cooking. Gloria is screaming. Fam is yelling. We are all doing this right there. We are going to raise hell for Julian Assange. Farce of July. It's the man's 50th birthday tomorrow, and he's being tortured in Belmarsh prison. We got to get out there. We are all Julian Assange. We really are. This is something. It's like as the days go by, I get more. My heart gets closer and closer to Julian and what he's experiencing and what's going on, because we are living in an Orwellian 1984 fucking nightmare. And the reason why they're able to do all this censorship is they started over here, and we didn't raise hell. We let it happen, and now everybody's fair game, fam.
Yep.
They came for Julian. You said nothing. Guess what? Targets on all our backs now.
Literally.
I really do miss his words. Like I miss just like hearing him weigh in on issues. His speeches are one of a kind. They're really amazing. And like I guess one of the things is like when I wasn't really paying attention when he was like making some of those big speeches. Mm-hmm. And now like as I learned more about the case, once I got older and got into activism, like I really came to, look up to him. Like I try not to have heroes, but I do look up to Julian to a degree. So it's like I just really want him to be out so he can, be in that space again.
Yeah.
100%.
The severity of the situation now in my mind is a lot harsher than it was before. Like when it happened, it was like, well, that sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's on the run. Now it's like, oh my God, like that was just the start of it all. They got Julian. And now everybody else is silenced, and everybody else is getting censored. She's wearing the fuck censorship, fam.
Yeah, and we have a whole section on that, but just say it's not just worse for him; it's worse for all of us, right? Like we're seeing it in real time. All these things that we talked about, January 6th, the whole censoring right-wing outlets, and the left cheering for all of this. All of that is coming back to bite people in the ass. So that just says so much.
By the way.
Yeah. Good luck to Italy today playing Belgium. Just want to say that too as well.
I think Belgium's losing.
It was 2-1. I don't know who's winning.
I mean, yeah, I think Belgium's winning right now.
Everybody says Italy's like one of the favorites this year, that they're really playing.
Italy's all right, but Belgium's got Lukaku.
Yes, good player. Yeah. What's the redhead's name? Is he still there too? The tall forward?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he was like 18, 19 during the last World Cup, and he dominated. I think he got 2 goals against the United States. But anyways, we'll see. That's just...
Hey, Pasta, you want to show them what you're going to wear at the
Okay, yeah, that's right. Listen, guys, when you go look... Here's the funny thing I just realized. It's green. So how's it going to show up on the green screen?
Not.
Let's take a look.
I think it's...
Guys, get there nice and early tomorrow. I will be wearing this hat right here. How's it look?
Oh, my God.
Y'all, it's literally a yellow vest bucket hat.
Yeah.
Let me see that. That's so awesome, though, fam. Look, it's like you can't even see it.
Sam, you're ridiculous.
I can just be a talking mouth with my mama. And you get the stripe right there and stuff. It's a yellow bucket hat. You can't see it. It's a green vest hat. You can't see it. See, it looks black as I get a little, but it's going to be bright green. I'm going to be there first because I'm going to be manning the grill. Me and Johnny did a test run today to make sure everything was kosher. And it was. We made some great burgers, handed them out. Tomorrow I'm going to have my favorite bit burger. It's a garlic aioli, a tomato jam, a nice grilled crispy onion, vegan American cheese on a bun. It's just beautiful. Some pickles.
This is like the 5th time he's described.
Yeah, I know.
Too.
He does this all the time, Glory. Imagine.
I get excited about food.
Yeah, we know. We know.
All right.
So let's get into it.
We should jump into it. Let's get the thing rolling. Okay. Fam, I don't know if you know this. Spaghetti-o.
Oh, jeez.
135,000 ballots mistakenly added in New York's election.
Are you
mayoral,
okay?
sorry, mayoral count.
Okay.
135,000 test ballots mistakenly added in New York's mayor race. Now, is it just a coincidence that we were in Georgia? I was in Georgia.
You mean coincidence?
Yes, it's coincidence. That's what the kids are calling it nowadays, Glory. Stay with me, okay? I'm showing you how to be hip. A coincidence, we went and interviewed a lady in Bridget Thorne. Her name was in Georgia. She had signed an affidavit to testify as a witness that when she worked the early voting in Fulton County, Georgia, that she saw test ballots being printed out
Right.
and not discarded properly.
Right.
Later on, we had another witness, Susie. I forgot Susie's last name. She also testified, and I got an interview with her, that when she was doing the recount, she saw stacks of batches of ballots that didn't look exactly like the regular ballots. They were just a little bit off. They looked like they had been computer marked and not hand marked. And they had to still count them because it was a recount. It wasn't about an audit and authenticating the ballots. So put 1 and 1 together, it equals 2 is the fact that they're printing off test ballots and they're counting these test ballots. A lot of people denied it, said it wasn't happening, but guess what? Turn around in New York, you have a bunch of test ballots, fam, that came into the system and actually got counted. 135,000 test ballots. The mainstream media, would you believe it or not, is really not picking up on too much until after all these people put the information out there. And then USA Today had to talk about it. I want to tip my hat off to Lulu Friedston from Smart Elections. She's been on top of this stuff from the get-go. We have some information that she put out. We're going to talk about that today as well. But here we are again, fam. No chain of custody, right?
Right.
Nobody's presenting a solution. A chain of custody, first of all, if it's a test ballot, should be a completely different color. Not close to it, completely different color. Like the color of this hat that you can't see. So it's different. So you know these are test ballots. When they are printed out, a chain of custody has to be made. In other words, this is how many we're printing out. This is the ones we're printing out for this district, that district, that district, this district. These are the ones here. Now they're being shredded. They're being, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Bridget Thorne came in Georgia and Fulton County one day. She saw stacks of ballots, test ballots, that weren't thrown away and just placed on a table. So what did she do? She took them and she started shredding them herself so they wouldn't go in the machine. And they were kind of like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm destroying these ballots so they don't get counted because she wanted a fair election. Well, lo and behold, here we are in New York. We have the most secure elections of all times, fam. Bullstein. It's not true. So let's read some of the highlights from the USA Today.
How the hell do you mistakenly add test
Can you go like this when you
ballots?
say mistakenly?
Mistakenly.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. And I put down on my tweet, and I put simply, and people have to understand this, we say this all the time. The question shouldn't be, how did these test ballots get added to the count or mistakenly added? No, the question should be, why don't we have a chain of custody with test ballots to begin with? Ask Georgia. They'll tell you. There's got to be a chain of custody. It should be done publicly, on a webcam or
But
whatever.
that's just
or
the new Jim Crow. We can't have that. You're trying to stop people from voting.
I hate it when people say that because it's like, what? Because it's like take off the little like Western. Oh, we have to make everything more accessible and democracy, and when we don't have a democracy because elections are privately owned, like people don't realize that. In a lot of countries outside of the U.S., you have to sacrifice some of that kind of accessibility for security. Because, do you want secure elections or do you want what we have now, which is a complete shit show?
Yep.
And I think nothing demonstrated that better than when Fee went to Peru.
Exactly.
And that was literally on because Convo was also on the ground in the nightmare that was Super Tuesday in LA. So it's like you have that comparison between something like Los Angeles and Broward County as well, and then versus something like Peru where the election isn't the most accessible, but it's super duper secure, and it has to be so that way a fucking imperialist doesn't win. And now you go back here, if they were to implement those same policies that help safeguard elections and help safeguard people's governments from being cooed by Western powers, if you implement that same thing here, people freak the fuck out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's
they're
like
made to do that.
Republicans, do they advance it for partisan causes? Absolutely. Okay. But that doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that Democrats don't do it either.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a bipartisan practice, election rigging.
Yeah, it certainly is. We're going to get into that, and thank you for echoing that, fam, because I say that all the time. I said you can't give up complete securities
to be
for
the
accessibilities.
balance.
And we're going to see a little statement by Supreme Court Justice Alito today. He makes very similar to that same statement that you make, that I've been making. But let's dive really quickly into the USA Today article, because they had to pick up on this like a week after, because people were starting to, the independent journalists were out there doing the friggin' work.
Of course.
And then all of a sudden, now here comes the mainstream media. But you won't see it on CBS or NBC or any of those channels. They won't talk about the fact that 135,000 ballots got into the system. Johnny, you want to play the video real quick? Or is the music no bueno? Okay.
Real quick, Pasta.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when I talk about elections, come to me and say, emphasize ranked choice voting as the number one thing, right? And I am all for ranked choice voting. I think that's a great idea. I think that we need to have that. But if you have only ranked choice voting and you don't secure your elections, this is what happens. You must look at the chain of custody. You must look at the whole process as a whole, the front of the house, the back of the house, everything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can have ranked choice voting and still have a fiasco like what happened in New York. And a lot of progressives, especially people on the left, don't realize that. They just say ranked choice voting. But ranked choice voting under a system that is corrupt and that you have no control over and you can't look into the machines
Zero
isn't going to
transparency.
help at all. It's going to be the same result.
Yeah. I think, some of the people I met in the open source world, that's the problem with that whole clan. Some of them is the fact that they just open source. Well, that's just one element. If you have, in this particular election, where a lot of people feel there was clustering, extra ballots that somehow got out and put in. Remember they were making those videos like trying to mock the whole situation. How do you use a ballot harvester get an extra ballots?
They
It's got to
still
go
are.
door to door. It's got to look over here. It's got to do this. It's got to do that. You can't get a hold of the ballots. It takes forever. No, you schmuck. There's a fucking machine printing out test ballots, and there's ways of getting a hold of ballots, like in what we witnessed in Florida, right? What about the fucking nursing homes? You got people who die, they don't report it, that ballot comes to that. The head nurse will then go, oh, I'll take that back. Now he collects 20 ballots, he sells them for $10 each. That's an extra $200 he puts in his pocket, and that shit happens all the time. There's ways to harvest ballots, and now that we can just print them out from anywhere and there's no chain of custody, Ugats. So yes, ranked choice voting is amazing, but we have to also fix out the front of the house, the ballots, how they're printed, how they're counted. I mean, this whole thought process that we can have proprietary software still, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody's even mentioning the words proprietary software. And both parties, they game the system. They both want to keep it the way it is because in their little territories, like a cartel, they control the elections. They control who gets picked. It's terrible. It's a different warfare that's going on, and they never let the public eye know the truth. Story highlights on this particular article say the city has used ranked choice voting for the first time, which we saw. The Board of Elections has said full results are not expected until later in July, which is another thing. How come they can come up with results so fast in fucking Peru, but here they take weeks to count? America.
America.
Yeah, it's a mayor race. It's a mayor race.
It's another thing. Like, you have all this time to vote. They take all this time to count. It's like, that just amplifies the time for any shenanigans to happen. That's just a fact. The quicker you do it, the more transparent you are, the more people will feel secure about the election.
But fam, it's a right-wing talking point. They should be able to vote for 3 weeks. The more time to vote, the more time to cheat. That's the bottom line. I know that thing sucks, and it might sound like I'm pushing against accessibility, but I'm not. You have to do this in an orderly fashion. And really, to tell you the truth, we could have the system work so well that you get in and out to vote. How long did it take to vote in Peru?
3 to 5 minutes.
Another thing, Johnny, a holiday, 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, how do we have 5-hour lines in America to vote?
On college campuses.
This is the last part of it. The additional 135,000 test ballots accidentally, give me those air quotes, included in a round of results are raising wider concerns about how the board handles elections. You think, assholes. And here's what, again, fam, remember I told you, what are they going to claim? They're going to claim ignorance. Oh, my God, we messed up. It was an accident.
What they always do.
Get the hell out of here. New York, foolishness, unfortunate. Generations of failures. New York City's Board of Elections is facing widespread criticism after it mistakenly, in air quotes again, included 135,000 test ballots and partial results released Tuesday in its tightly contested mayoral election. The three-way contest, unfortunately, they left Andrew Yang out of this one. Poor Yang. See, kissing up to the establishment gets you nothing, buddy. Between Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, who's the cop, Maya Widley, the former counsel to Mayor Bill de Blasio,
Neo-progressive
disaster, and Catherine Garcia, former Department of Sanitation head, which is probably corrupt as can be, has been upended with a murky picture of who is ahead after the election board's botched release and scores of mail-in votes remain to be counted. Ranked choice voting is being used for the first time in citywide primaries this year, and the Board of Elections has said full results are not expected until later in July.
Another thing this does, because they fucked it up, is they're gonna blame ranked choice voting for the slow process, and then they're gonna be like, oh, that didn't work, so we can't implement it. And this is like textbook.
Yeah.
I mean, they do this on purpose. You do not have a democracy in this country. You have selected individuals that are allowed to win. That's the bottom line. And it's not just on the national level, it's also on the local level in a lot of these races, and important races like mayor or Congress or certain key seats that, and especially in big cities like New York, you could have like smaller local city council even, right? And mayor are important in a city like New York because of the importance of the city, how much money there is in New York, and the affiliations with politicians. It's just like, that's why it's so important. In LA too. In LA, who the mayor is extremely important. Not anybody can be mayor of LA.
By the way, in the ranked choice voting, unfortunately, Glory, Johnny's Dolphin didn't make it. We thought with ranked choice voting, Johnny's Dolphin would make it.
Yeah. For context on that, I actually did write in Johnny's Dolphin for, I think it was like sheriff or public defender or something like that. Yeah, no, but I mean, like, in some respects, it's almost worse at a local level because less people are paying attention to it, since it's a local election. And on top of that, you have the fact that the local parties essentially have almost a monopoly, along with their corporate donors, over how the elections are run in, said county or said municipality. So it's almost, in some places, it's almost worse, the local elections. And like, Florida's 23rd district, Broward County, like New York, Los Angeles County, how shite elections are in those areas. It's absolutely seething with corruption.
Yeah. In 23, when we were out there with you, we got thrown out of the whole freaking goddamn precinct after we were stating a law. We all were looking at it like, look, this is the law. We're allowed to stay in here. We're allowed to observe the count. They threw us out. They don't give a shit. Then people don't even understand the rules, and nobody has to pay a price. By law, we were allowed to stay there. They literally threw us out. Threw us out, yelling and screaming and whatnot. It's like, don't you people understand we're trying to protect the integrity of these elections? No.
There was one location. It was like it was like an elementary school gym that I was trying to audit, where the whole thing was straight up shut down. And I was like, I swear this is a polling place. And then, I see the directions outside it. So I'm like banging on the doors trying to get in, despite the fact that like it should be open to the public by a Florida statute. So I have to like bang on their doors for 5 minutes just to get in and see what's happening. Granted, I mean, they at least let me in and let me, record the poll tapes and stuff and observe their closing procedures. But it's still way, way tougher than it needed to be just to audit
Yep.
a polling
Yep.
place.
The system is broke. It's broke on purpose, and we know why. They want to game the system, both parties. And then you get, like, the big lie, right? The big lie is what the Democrats are trying to say. Assholes like Ted Lieu and all these other Russiagators trying to say, the big lie is that the election was rigged and stuff like that. No, this is the big lie, Ted Lieu, that you and your buddy Howard Dean here. Assange did real damage along with others in collaborating with the Russians to elect Donald Trump. He should not be pardoned under any circumstances, and that is Howard Dean. Glory, I'm gonna let you make a response to that. Howard Dean's punk ass right there saying this shit. I mean, this guy is. If you
I mean, where's your fucking proof?
Zero proof. Zero proof.
Oh, the Mueller report, which couldn't
Yeah,
even be
that's
used
her
in a
proof.
proper indictment against Trump because it had so much evidence. I
Yeah.
mean, on top of the fact that Assange has stated on multiple occasions with confidence that the source of those leaks is not a state actor, regardless of whether it was a hacker, which it's not, because the VIP's investigations proved using the download speeds of the emails that it was too fast to be obtained remotely.
Yeah.
So it had to be downloaded onto a flash drive, so it was a leak. So on top of the fact that it probably wasn't a hack, it was a leak, we also know for certain that it's not a state actor because the person with a 100% record of truth has stated that.
Yeah.
And there are tons and tons of like investigations into that which show that all the leaks that came from the DNC to the Podesta emails, they were not obtained by a state hacker. I don't know, like, if you still believe that, then I don't know what else to tell you at this point.
Yeah. You notice that was one of those volleyball setups that when somebody goes like that, just so you can spike it down. That's what I did there. I was like, oh, Glory's going to go off on this one and stuff. But people do talk about it all the time. I think that was Bill Benny's work who said, no, it's impossible for them to hack that from a different location, a remote location. The speed was way too quickly. And he said he doesn't even know if they have the bandwidth to hack that remotely, what they got, all the information they got. Like, it might not even be possible unless, they come up with some device to help them out. But more than likely, it was a flash drive, whatnot. I think a lot of people believe that it was Seth Rich. We don't know. Who knows? But a lot of people don't feel that it was the Russians. But they're still telling that lie. They're still putting that narrative out there. And when you look at a lot of polls or look at a lot of information, a lot of people believe, Democrats who are not in the political bubble paying attention to stuff, believe that they actually hacked voter machines and changed votes in 2016. They're going along with that lie. But that's what this Howard Dean tweet, people like him, people like Ted Lieu, that's what it leads to. And people are so fucking confused, and now it's just one side pitted against the other. And there's information I got on the phone today from Arizona that's just, I can't talk about it until I can confirm it, but more information that's going to be more divisive between the public. Anyways, we have to be thankful for the independent journalists on the ground and whatnot, people who are in our field. One of them is Lulu. Smart Elections is her game. She's in New York. She wrote about the Transparency Pilot Project, and they're pushing for transparent elections in New York. They're pushing all types of bills. They're pointing out the real issues with proprietary software. Lulu is close with Benny Smith, friend of the show. As we know, Benny Smith is probably one of the top guys as far as writing codes and explaining what the Republicans called hammer and scorecard. He was calling it fraction and magic about 6, 7, 8 years ago. He worked for Bev Harris doing this situation. They worked together. It was amazing. But I want to point out this one point because the mainstream media hasn't picked up on this yet, fam, or they're just being silent about it. And it's that's the fact that there are more ballots than voters in a couple precincts. So this is an FDR High School right over here. Lulu talked about this. And from what I understand, I got to get on the phone with her because John Roberts Breakey told me today that there's a plethora of crap, that it was just a terrible election. A lot of election integrity activists saying this was just a complete fail. But that's what our election system is. So it says comparing the number of voters to ballots in common reconciliation. The number of voters who check in must always be the same or close to the number of ballots scanned. This has nothing to do with the affidavit or void ballots. Those are accounted for separately. Each voter who checks in successfully is given a ballot and is supposed to scan it themselves, unless there is a problem with the scanners. So the number of voters who check in is supposed to be close to the numbers of ballots scanned. Sometimes voters leave without scanning their ballots, and we've seen a situation like that. Remember the person, they thought they did the ballot marking device, got their ballot printed, and then walked out like they thought it was a receipt. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it does happen, but very rare when not. It says these are called fleeing voters. Because of this, the number of ballot scans can be lower than the numbers of voters who check in, but the number of ballot scans is never supposed to be more than the numbers of voters who checked in.
Yep.
On June 16, 2021, we found 698 more scanned ballots than voters who checked in. This occurred at the polls at FDR High School at 5800 20th Avenue in Brooklyn. At closing, there were 480 voters who checked in, according to the numbers provided to us by the coordinator, and one electoral poll book that we were allowed to view personally. We examined the number of ballots scanned personally, and it was 1178, meaning there were 698 more ballots scanned than voters checked in at the point in early voting. Now, this is one fucking precinct.
Yeah.
So you imagine that.
Imagine.
Lulu doing work. Board of Elections response. Well, listen to this one. You're going to love this one,
gonna
Glory.
be good.
We told the coordinator about the discrepancy. In our opinion, she showed no concern. It was subsequently reported to the Board of Elections in person and also via email thread that included members of the Campaign Finance Board and the Chief Democracy Officer from the Mayor's office. The Board of Elections responded with an email that our concerns may stem from the public count on scanners versus pieces of paper. Public counter counts the first sheet of the ballot as it is representative of the number of voters, not the number of ballots. We are aware that with a 2-page ballot, the public counter counts 1 ballot, but the protective counter counts 2. If the discrepancies were due to that, then there would be 480 voters and 960 ballots scanned. But that is not the number that we found. So, furthermore, at other polling locations, the number of voters checked in and the number of ballots scanned were very close. So, from our experience, this does not explain the problem. And that's the thing they do. They give you curveballs. Well, it could be this or like that. There was a second page. Maybe the numbers were off. But it's just take our word for it. We got it right. So.
Yeah,
Dean Logan, is that you?
I mean, that's rich. I mean, I'm kind of glad this happened in a way because it just shows you that it's not like a right-wing thing. It's happening in New York City where you have the vast majority of liberals.
Super
and
majority.
like, so you're not like, hello, that's all I got to say. Hello, like, stop. Like yesterday, somebody was like, "Oh, it's a Republican talking point about ballot harvesting and da 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 da. Fiorella spread this and that," and I'm like, you don't know anything about elections. Like, what do you mean? You have no idea what you're talking about." So, it's we have to get past that whole thing.
Yeah. Well, you can just imagine, and we're gonna bring up a stat in a little bit. In 2019. The confidence in our elections was at an all-time low. So what is it now today? And now they've made it so tribal. Like you said, they've split it off. It's a right-wing talking point. It's a left-wing talking point. It's disgusting. It's the way that the media is using it. These new election integrity bills, they're framing them as the next Jim Crow. And then you got you guys like the Fraud Squad, fam. Your favorite. I thought this guy was going to be good. Jamal Bowman. And the psychology of this, ladies and gentlemen. He's not presenting any real solutions, whatnot. We got to do better. From the local to the executive level, we need an all-out effort to defend and strengthen voting, election systems, and confidence in our democracy. What the fuck does that mean?
Right.
What the fuck? That's just a bunch of word salad. We got to do better. I hate that whole shit that we got to do better. Asshole, you're the one who's letting it fuck up. You're not calling it out. You're not saying the real things. You're not doing anything. And then they use the code to keep you on the same tribal mentality. Here's the next tweet. As we saw with an attempted hacking of election databases in 2016. The word hacking, again, in 2016. We know what you're talking about. Our systems are far too vulnerable to human interference and human error. This leaves us vulnerable to outcomes being altered by accident or otherwise. And still, some wonder why people don't participate. Like, who the fuck are you to wag your finger, you asshole? You're the one who's now an elected an official. So I put down to him, I said, people have no confidence in our elections, Jamal, because of the hypocrisy of elected officials like you. Why don't you stop virtue signaling and hold people accountable while presenting real solutions instead of using code words like hacking to push your underlying McCarthy bullshit? And that's what it fucking is. He's being tribal. He's not saying proprietary software. He's not saying chain of custody. I mean, we could tell you people right away, well, what do you suggest? All right, strengthen your chain of custody, get rid of proprietary software, have hand counting, and a full audit. Simple. 1, 2, 3, easy peasy, right?
Yep.
But they don't do that because they want to keep the ball in their court where they fucking live, so they can taint these elections there.
And just focus on voter suppression.
That's it. Which it does happen.
Yeah, it does.
But it's not the only problem.
And it's not the only one party doing it.
And more to the McCarthyite point as well, because, like, quick shout out to Eileen as well, because she actually got to ask Jamal Bowman a question about Julian Assange, and his response was, well, I don't know enough to comment on that question, but I can assure you that journalism and press freedom is something that is very important to me, and I will look to hold Joe Biden accountable and help repair the damage done by the Trump administration, and some fluffy answer like that. But the point being is, if press freedom and journalism is that important to you, why the flying fuck don't you know enough about the Assange case to comment on it?
Oh, he knows.
I mean, he knows, obviously, but...
Well, I mean, we have to say that because there's a lot of people out there think that he's part of the squad and that he doesn't know.
Well, he is part of the squad.
You have no excuse. I have to look into it, as I think he looked at... What the fudge do you have to look into, dude? Like, are you serious over here?
How do you get elected to office then? I like being that, like, lacking that knowledge when, like, basic people know what this is. Like, it's just, like, to me, it's like either you're an idiot or you're purposely pretending to be one.
I think I want to bring back the term that I used to use because it's to that point, kabuki theater. I used to say for show, and some people say kabuki theater is not the best word, but it's so farce. It's so out there. It's such bullshit at this fucking point that, maybe I should say it's the circus, because it's just ridiculous at this point that they just throw this shit out there, this virtue signaling. We got to do better. And you wonder why people don't vote. Like, who the fuck are you to tell us that, asshole? You're the elected official. Make some changes. You could put forth some shit, make some changes today. But the hypocrisy runs deep. And this is the article that was in 2019. If there wasn't too much confidence in 2019, how much confidence do you think there is now? And this was that during 2019, a new poll shows crisis in confidence in U.S. election. A year before the 2020 presidential elections, only half of Americans say that they believe the vote will be counted openly and fairly, according to the new survey that reveals growing mistrust in the U.S. electoral system. That's 2019. The poll conducted by Ipsos, I think for CNN,
Ipsos, yeah.
C-SPAN, and shared exclusively with The Hill, found that 53% of registered voters said next year's election will be open and fair. So half the fucking country believed that it would be fair. Just 46% said they have a great deal or fair amount of trust in the wisdom of fellow Americans when it comes to election outcomes. Don't you love the way they lump those numbers together? It's either great or somewhat great. It's probably like fucking 35% probably said it's not so great, and just a little bit said it is great. So, I mean, that's the problems ahead of us when it comes to the elections. New York just fell on their fucking face, and we've been saying this for so long that we need to fix the framework. We have to fix the structure. There's ways we can make this fair, transparent, quick, easy, confidence. We can do everything in these elections, but we choose not to do it. And both parties are just playing tennis right now because they want to hold the advantage in their hands. That's it. So,
yep.
Anything else before we talk about the Supreme Court? Because we have a little video, because this is very big. There's going to be an argument right now. So we have H.R. 1, right? That's the bill that's out there. They're trying to set that as a blueprint. That was more of a blueprint than anything, because if they do get it passed, there's going to be objections right away. There's going to be lawsuits, whatnot, because there's an argument between the federal government and what power they hold when it comes to election versus the states. And where the states have the majority of the powers to then conduct elections they see fit. So Arizona's had this fight, whatnot, to get rid of, make sure any forms of ballot harvesting. In other words, like Michigan, ballot harvesting is illegal. So only your caretaker or your husband or wife, whatever, I think, can bring in your ballot. That's it. Nobody else. Which is the fact it's a mail-in ballot anyway, so put it in the fucking mail. So that, you know what I'm saying? But people complain about that, and they're saying, oh, you're making it harder for people of color to vote. That's what you're doing. You're going after them, and you're using this rhetoric out there to kind of muddy the waters to make people think that what the Republicans are doing when they're adding these securities in their elections is a racist-motivated law. So that's what they're trying to say.
Right. And some people may do it for that reason, but it really isn't. Like, it shouldn't be. We need more security in our elections because, again, all over the world, the vast majority of countries do not use mail-in ballots because they're one of the easiest ways to commit election fraud.
Yep.
Like, literally, they don't use it.
Yep.
In Peru, they require IDs for everybody. In Venezuela, they require a thumbprint. In other countries, they literally just make you go in and vote, and like you have to prove in every single country, I think, besides a couple maybe in Europe, you have to provide some form of identification when you go in to vote. So it's really it's crazy to me how in America we make this whole thing out to be very much about racism and the new Jim Crow, and it's really hard to talk about it because people get really offended and they call you a right winger when you're like saying that you're trying to stop people of color or poor people from voting. But why don't we make it more accessible for people to have IDs then? Why don't we make it more accessible for their ballot to be tracked? If I can track my food, I can track my packages. Why can't I track my ballot? So none of that ever comes to play. It's always like, oh no, it's the emotions. Yeah. Like people go off their emotions like, oh no, you're giving me right-wing talking points. It's yeah.
And that's the thing with Julian exposing the truth of everything that's going on with the DNC WikiLeaks. They are trying to turn people against each other. Whitney Webb said it like, oh, look at you guys, haha, we can turn you against each other. So now when it comes to these election integrity bills, now let me tell you something. It was Jimmy Carter and James Baker in a bipartisan commission in 2014 when they got together. They said the easiest way to commit election fraud is through absentee and mail-in ballots. That's Jimmy Carter. But yet people still want to go against that and say, oh, no. They don't want to add any of the securities in. So then we have this fight right now with the Democrats in office trying to push AB1 through, HR1, excuse me, not AB1, HR1, trying to mold their elections, trying to expand mail-in ballots federally to states and mandate they do that. And the states are fighting back and going, nope, this is what we're going to do. The same thing with the ballot harvesting. And a lot of progressives, they say, well, why isn't ballot harvesting okay? In fact, out here, the Bernie Sanders campaign, they embraced it. Let's get together. Let's collect Aunt Judy and Uncle Tommy's ballots and take it in for them. Let's go do that. Rather than staying at the polls and creating exit polls so they have data to go, you're fucking up over here. We just fucking, you know what I'm saying? It would have been inaccurate because most of the ballots were mail-in this time, and they were able to use the COVID to say, we have to push the mail-in ballots. Got to be safe, fam. Can't go there to the polls and whatnot. So, but let's take a look at the Supreme Court. This is very interesting. This just came through yesterday. The challenge with Arizona, which is one of the states that are making more laws, security laws to their elections to make them more, have more integrity. And in fact, you know how the pushback is. Joe Biden pulled the game out of, convinced Major League Baseball to pull the All-Star game out of Atlanta for pushing their bill. So the war that's going on. We'll take a look at the video, then we'll read a quick clip of the article, and you guys tell me about the tactics in which they're using if you think they're shady or awful or whatever. So, right.
Test of the landmark Voting Rights Act, the court took up two restrictions in Arizona, one allowing the state to throw out votes cast in the wrong precinct, and another that said only voters, their family members, or caregivers can turn in a person's mail ballot. Democrats said both made it harder for minorities to vote. But by a vote of 6-3, with the court's liberals dissenting, the court upheld the restrictions. Justice Samuel Alito's majority opinion said all voting laws impose some burden, and they don't cross the line even if they create small disparities in voting as long as the state has some justification for them. But in a blistering dissent, Justice Elena Kagan said the court ignores that voter discrimination is getting worse. She said the ruling weakens the Voting Rights Act, a law that stands as a monument to America's greatness and protects against its basest impulses. Election law experts say the court now leaves few legal weapons to challenge new voting restrictions recently passed in nearly 20 states.
There's really not much left. All of the major tools have been significantly weakened or eliminated.
And no word tonight of any retirements. The last 9 justices to step down for something other than health reasons announced their plans on or before the court's final day. That suggests Justice Stephen Breyer will probably be around next term.
Well, we don't like their decisions. We're hoping to get rid of them. But what Alito said is true. Every single law is going to present some form of a burden. But that's what you have to do with elections. There has to be some form of a burden because you have to make sure the integrity of the counts. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's right. Do you have anything to say on that, too, as well? Because the other Supreme Court justice, like, just parroting shit, it's just complete political jockeying on the fucking Supreme Court. That's just disgusting.
Yeah. What the hell does election law expert entail? Like, I'm just curious as to what exactly that man studied. Like, if he's ever done an audit. And this isn't to say he doesn't, but I'm curious as to if he's actually done an audit, or if he's actually studied the machines, or if he's only studied, this is voter suppression, and gone on like a 2-day history course on voter suppression and read through the Voting Rights Act and listened to Greg Palast. I'm curious. I'm curious.
You're talking about the jerk-off professor at UC Irvine, right? The one that they showed real quick, say some shit. Yeah, I can tell you this. I never heard the guy's name up until just recently and stuff. And as you know, like, we know election integrity people that have been in this for a while. We know all the groups involved. We even know the right-wing groups, too, as well. You know what I'm saying? I know them all. I mean, there's people that I missed. The one name that came out of the blue that was kind of like, was Javon Hutton Pulitzer. Like, we didn't know who this guy was. And we're like, where did this guy come from? And there's still a little confusion. But everybody even know. People even knew who Doug Logan was. John Roberts Brakey, who was out there as one of the liaisons to Ken Bennett. We had John Brakey on the show 3 years ago. We've been talking to John Brady consistently. So these people just come out of the blue acting like, it's like you said, fam. Oh, now everybody's an election integrity specialist out of the blue. Yeah, where the hell were you guys when we were talking about this shit? Yeah. But out of the blue, here they come. And they put them on TV looking all nice and handsome and shit, and they don't know squat, fam. That means nothing.
Voter suppression.
By Pete Williams. Now listen to the language, ladies and gentlemen, and tell me that the elites aren't using the mainstream media, the predator class isn't using the mainstream media to divide us. The Supreme Court on Thursday upheld 2 election laws in the 2020 battleground state of Arizona that challengers said make it harder for minorities to vote. Well, it actually makes it harder for poor people to vote. You know what I'm saying? Technically, people who can't get around, like when North Georgia, like when I interviewed those girls and I talked to them, the closest DMV for them to go get a license was 45 minutes away. And when you got there, it was a 4-hour wait. And, it's hard. So it's really about poor people who have hard times. They don't own cars. There's not a lot of Ubers around their neighborhood. They don't have the money to get those licenses and whatnot. So it does affect poor people of color, but it also affects poor white people too as well. So it's really not just about minorities. It's more of a class thing. But let's not talk about that. The case was an important test for what's left of one of the nation's most important civil rights laws, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which the Supreme Court scaled back in 2013. A remaining provision allows lawsuits claiming that voting changes would put minority voters at a disadvantage in electing candidates of their choice. The vote was 6-3, with the court's 3 liberals dissenting. Election law experts said the court's ruling will make it harder for minority groups to challenge voting laws. So you can see what they're doing. Mm-hmm. It's 100% attack. This is a racist thing that they're doing. Let's pit people against each other. People don't understand the nuances of these bills. Fiorella did a whole thread and an article on Georgia, broke it down bit by bit by bit, and it wasn't racist at all. It was about securing their elections, and it's mostly securing it from an absentee voter point of view. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's about the absentee ballots, which were dubbed the secret ballot by the Boss Tweed people back in the days when you're talking about old school election integrity. In closing, guys, I just wanted to put up Unapologetic. I sent him $10 yesterday in PayPal, $5 for each tweet. I love this guy. Fam, I saw you retweeted this. This was the first one right over here. And this is some great shit. I cringe when I see people frame the issue of voter rights suppression as a partisan issue. Both major parties represent oligarchy and actively undermine the will of the voters. Dems only want to secure voting right victories that maintain power for them.
Yep.
I put up the Bud Light guy. Dude, I love you, man. I don't know if you remember that, dude. Like, you guys might be too young. God. These are the Bud Light commercials. It would be like, this guy's going around, I love you, man. And the dude would be like, hey, man, you're not getting my Bud Light. So he tried to do the whole I love you, man thing, and I sent that to him. And then he had another tweet down below, and I had to do, this is so awesome. I can't stop crying. I can't articulate how disingenuous it is when people portray Dems as these principal crusaders for democracy and never once mention how they got caught rigging their own primaries 2 elections in a row. This is an oligarchy, and neither party wants the majority to have a say. Unapologetic on YouTube, YT. Go check out his Twitter. Go check out his YouTube page. I gave him $10 last night, $5 for each tweet. Fam, this is beautifully said. Anything to say before we get out on here, this subject?
No.
Facts.
No, it was facts. Yeah.
Hashtag facts.
Facts.
So New York's fucked up. Oh, I'm not even supposed to be. Oh, my bad. New York's messed up. Arizona, we're still waiting on shit. Our elections are messed up. How can the Democrats come out there and say that these were the most secure elections of all times when you turn around and a mayoral race is just screwed up with 135 accidental ballots got into the system? You can't. Thank you to everybody who's hanging out on our YouTubes. Glory Jones is in the house. Assange birthday is tomorrow. Please come join us. And is this the right one? Okay.
Yep.
We do have some people. Trey right here sending love your way, fam.
Thank you, Trey.
We love you, Trey. Trey. You got the heart. At BX Commie. Glad to see the fam drawing attention to the shit show that is the New York BOE, which is the Board of Elections. This is not new. This is a regular occurrence that happens every year. The Board of Elections settled a lawsuit for illegally purging more than 100,000 voters from the voter rolls in areas Bernie was strong and ahead in the 2016 presidential primary. Remember that, fam?
Yep. How could I forget?
I remember.
So it's very important to understand is that they can win, the establishment, be it Republican or Democrat, can win two ways. They can subtract votes. They can suppress votes. You can't vote. You have to do a provisional. Sorry, your name's on the list. Sorry, Jones, Glory Jones, you committed a felony. No, I didn't. Yes, you did 6 years ago. Well, no, that's not me. That might be a different Glory Jones. Okay, sorry. Here's your provisional ballot. We'll fix it later. That ballot never gets counted. They did that shit before. Now 2016 rolls around. You're not on the rolls. Well, we can give you a provisional ballot. What do you mean? I registered to vote. They're showing you evidence. I registered to vote. People are getting frantic. This is bullshit. I registered to vote. Sorry. You're not on the rolls. We have to give you a provisional. We don't count your provisionals. That's what you get. Or they can fix an election by stuffing the ballot box. 135,000 accidental test ballots somehow made it in? Sure, pal. Sure. Tell me it's accidental. Carrie Mark says, Happy Friday! Woo! Jig forever. Hey, fam. Can't wait to hear this show. Much love. Thank you so much. We love you, too. And we appreciate the Super 8 contributions on the couch.
You didn't have to do that, fam.
Glory's here. She wanted to hear it.
No.
Stop. Appreciate it on the couch.
Thank you, Glory.
Hey, Steve, where the hell are you?
David Asper, thank you so much for the Super 8 contribution. Thank you for drawing attention to the ongoing voting fiasco. Electronic black box machines are unacceptable and cannot be trusted. And David, you're so right. Why aren't our elected officials using that terminology? Why aren't they saying black box voting? Why aren't they saying proprietary software? Why? Because they want to fucking game the system. Shadowban Refugee, we just did a show yesterday.
Orale!
What the fuck are you talking about? Is the name of the show. And Shadowban Refugee brought some stuff. We talked about the mayor. I believe, the governor of New Mexico. Awesome shit he brought. Loved him on the show. He had so much energy. Here's the biggest lie, that anyone in any party ever would work on your behalf in that city. Washington, D.C. is the most evil place on the planet. The mortar, is it the mortar, M-O-R-T-A-R, of its buildings made with the bones of millions of innocent people across time and space. The gears lubricated with their blood. It's only pursuit, theft, and destruction. Break the empire. Also, I simp for Glory and Fiorella.
Oh my god.
Stop.
Shadowban Refugee is the shit, guys. Go over and follow him. Jamal Bauman, words, things and stuff. Platitude, talking points, things and stuff. Russia, words, stuff and things. Fascist, and remember to vote blue no matter who.
Obviously.
I hope I did that right. Things and stuff. Stuff and things. Embled Fate, thank you so much. Otherwise, Embled Fate. Sup, Glory. Pasta, Fee. Keep up the work. Other shit-libs will smear you, but remember when they get caught cheating, they just blame it on the Russians. Woo. No point in pretending our system is fair until it is truly is. It's not fair until it's truly fair, and that's cool. AREM, thank you so much, AREM. Convo Couch rocks. From one couch to yours. It's almost always appreciated on the couch.
Stop it.
Thank you so much, AREM. And we love the tip. Thank you so much, AREM. Thank you to all who are leaving a few bucks. You guys make it possible for us to do what we do. And
we need more people on Rokfin, guys. Get on over to Rokfin.
ROKFIN. Glory Jones in the house. Johnny Sue on the ones and twos. And Fiorella with the next topic.
Oh my God. I'm not with you today. You are
oh my God,
so obnoxious today. It's like it's too much. How many cups of coffee did you have?
Person
it's funny because I didn't have a ton of coffee today. I had mud which has 1/7 the caffeine of regular coffee, and this is my first big cup of real coffee.
All right, fam. I'm going to take a moment to chill. There we go. Okay. So
I was going to thank our patrons too. Right.
AOC.
Got it. AOC.
Sandy, like
Fuck
Steve
AOC.
likes to call her. Pushing legislation that, in my opinion, is pretty right wing. Actually, she's demanding sexual orientation, your gender, and your race/ethnicity to become a public thing for politicians or elected officials, right? And notice she didn't push anything for a $15 minimum wage. She is pretty much pushing for symbolic gestures because that's all she has, because she hasn't done anything tangible economic wise, because economics actually help people. They help all minorities, particularly, of course, even in the LGBTQ community, even any minority, right? Because they tend to be working class. So when you help the working class, you're helping minorities. But AOC is focused on virtue signaling because this is what she does. And so she wants this bill to amend the code to pretty much have detailed information on political nominees in the federal workforce. It would require publication of info on race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, veteran status, and age. Those are things that I wouldn't want to share with people.
Yeah.
That's like private information. Why are you doing that, right? It really doesn't make any sense. Of course, she blasted the bipartisan Senate negotiating group for lacking diversity. White House Friday said Biden stands by commitment to put black women on the Supreme Court, and her push comes even as the Biden administration touts its own diversity efforts as historic. So we have the most intersectional warmongering administration. That's all wonderful and dandy. There's Mayorkas, who was heading the Department of Homeland Security, who is now, of course, responsible for deporting people that look like him, which is great. I feel so represented. I really do. Johnny feels represented too, and it's great, and we love it. And but guys, I just want to get your, I hate talking about AOC, but people still buy that she's, let's give her a chance. Let's let her see what she does. But
Our
look at the
squad
legislation.
is getting bigger, fam.
Look at the legislation she pushed, right?
Yep.
The $7,000 for COVID death related funeral costs. The Green New privatization / warmongering deal that we all know is a bunch of bullshit. This, which is a bunch of symbolic virtue signaling to the shit libs that are the only ones that still pretty much like her.
Can we not forget
Nothing
about the president's
tangible.
vote?
The present vote for cops, like that
For
gave money
personal
to
security.
cops.
They can protect themselves.
But hashtag diversity and
Yeah.
hashtag BLM and hashtag inclusivity. Like, I just cannot with this fucking woman. I cannot stand her. She's a CIA plant, I swear.
Oh.
She is just an actress. And
She's got the CC, whatever.
CAA,
yeah.
Creative
CAA?
Artists Agency.
Yeah, she's part of the CAA. Well, that's not true
Yeah.
and stuff like that. She didn't charge
Politicians-
$75,000 for a meeting. No.
She's hardly the only one, though. Politicians and journalists should not have,
talent agencies.
yeah, I'm a little bit, flabbergasted by that, to be honest. And she's not the only one. Like I said, she's one of many, so.
Can I say, we talked about this Congresswoman for a long time and how dangerous it was. The first big sign we saw was when she said she'll defer to the caucus when it came to Venezuela. So pretty much just turning a blind eye on imperialism and on racism and sanctions that are killing kids, little babies in Venezuela. She turned a blind eye into that. But then when she had a chance to speak out about the whole Cambridge Analytica situation when it comes to freedom of speech, whatnot, and to go after them and say, hey, Facebook had no right to sell your personal data, or they were claiming it's a leak. It doesn't make a difference. They shouldn't be able to do that shit, harvest all your information, then sell it. But instead, she used the opportunity on the floor of the Congress to go after, well, why are you putting disinformation out there? She used it as a political avenue to attack her opponents for saying they're putting out too much bullshit when it comes to Donald Trump, literature or post and all that stuff, and encouraged Congress to push the big tech to censor people more. That was the first time we were like, wait a second, wait, and then it's just one thing after another thing after another thing after another
Yeah.
thing. And we have AOC today, right? Please.
Yeah. She pushes people. She pushed her email, to make sure people ratted on others because of violence, violent words. And of course, she was responding to Justin Jackson's post. And like, that's the thing with her. It's like, and this is called the Paid Act. It's called the Paid Act, right? And she's talking about representatives reflecting America. Like, what does that do for you? What is AOC's fucking gender / sexual orientation / ethnicity reveal for political appointees do for you and your family? Really, just let me know. How does that make your life any fucking better?
Right? I mean, also, first of all, those tests finna be annoying as fuck to figure out. I just know because, like, I remember having to do the same thing for the little, like, PSAT and the SAT and all that, and it's annoying as fuck for mixed people to fill out. Let me just put that out there to begin with. Also, it's like Fee said, it's so symbolic, and it's so tokenizing, and it's really annoying to see that that's what we're going for to prioritize so we can get, queer war criminals. Yay. Oh my God.
We have
it's like Avril Haines, who's the freaking diversity coordinator at Palantir.
Yeah.
Palantir. Peter Thiel, Palantir, predictive policing, that Palantir, having a diversity coordinator, and now she's in the Biden administration, and they're prioritizing diversity, but it's like, realistically, you only get that far as a person of color, as a woman, as a black woman, as any of that, if you sell out, right? Yeah. Because otherwise they're not going to want you. And why the flying fuck do we want the government to have access to our gender, sexuality, or race? I really don't want. I mean, like, they already have it, sure, but they don't need it in another database on federal employees.
Yeah. And when you talk about a black woman on the Supreme Court, like, the names that are floated are always so scary. Stacey Abrams worked for Center for American Progress. We all know about her. Susan Rice, Condoleezza Rice. I mean, you're going to put these warmongers on the goddamn board. It's just ridiculous. So,
another thing I just wanted to point out, too, was how AOC has left any talk of Medicare for all. This is what she ran on, right? Like, we can mock people and say, like, from the moment she started wearing the mask and all that stuff, like, it was just for show. But she ran on this. Poor people gave her money to push Medicare for all. And not only did she not push it, now she's completely deviated from the language. We've covered that. But Jackson Hinkle put up this tweet that I had to point out, because if you look at when she tweeted about Medicare for all, you can see the reduction in the amount of times from 40 times in 2018 to then 8 times in 2020 to then 1 time in the last 6 months. Basically.
When we need it most. When we need it most.
When
even libertarians were like, I'll go against my ways. Maybe we need Medicare for all right now.
So it's kind of like, it's hilarious. It's pathetic. It's hilarious. It's all these things. And it's something that you have to kind of point out, because when you see that in coalition with to how she's been talking about the vaccines, now we're not going to get deeply into this, but I wanted to show how she's being propagandized, used, and tokenized for the vaccine. AFA-CWA, a public service announcement from AOC in support of flight attendants. We appreciate you. Get vaxxed, wear a mask, and come fly with us.
Come fly with me.
This is her Instagram. Why a mask still? I thought we were done with that. Because federal guidelines still require mask usage on planes and other forms of mass transit like trains and buses. With the Delta variant emerging, that likely won't change in the immediate term. So bring a mask if you're going to fly. And please don't give flight attendants a hard time. They're dealing with a lot.
First
a
of
lot
all,
right now.
AOC's IG stories are always narrative management central.
100%.
Second of all,
100%.
I guess it's federally mandated then to keep destroying the environment and polluting the oceans because those masks, especially the surgical ones,
Yep.
contain microplastics that are harmful for the
Yep.
environment, and they get littered everywhere.
Yeah.
So, thanks for that.
Yeah, and by the way, 99% of the masks that they wear out there don't save you from the virus. The virus can get through, and you're more likely to get the virus if you wear the mask because it's going to be touching your face and whatnot. And we know all this now because fucking Fauci's emails are out there, and he was saying this shit. He just went along with the fucking establishment because they wanted to put the fear of God into the citizens out there so they can control them.
Well, the fear
and that's
of
what
God works.
And that's what the masks were all about. You know, it's so fucking stupid over here. And the fact that they suppressed any other forms of alternative medicines that are pennies on the dollar that actually are effective and work. And now you can see they're already gearing up with the Delta variant. Here it comes. COVID-19 part 2, revenge of the Delta variant.
Well, yeah,
Something is coming.
Yeah,
it's coming.
And she's a useful idiot, obviously. She's a PR face for every establishment talking point you can imagine. And you said the environment. Well, AOC actually cares about the environment, Glory Jones. That's why she's pushing this Green New Deal. And if you haven't read anything about Cory Morningstar's work on that, I encourage everybody to go take a look because it's so revealing. The things she talks about, it really just makes the connections. And there was an interview too with Whitney Webb and her together talking about the Fourth Industrial Revolution. I recommend that as well. It's on SoundCloud. But AOC, last year, she said, update, last year, a lot of families in our community struggled in the shift to remote learning. So Team AOC organizers mobilized and built a volunteer homework helpers program on mutual aid model. Now we're celebrating thousands of hours of free tutoring and expanding. I wanted to show this because before the next read I show, the AOC does photo ops, right? Everything she has done from the time she went to the border, from the time she got a spread on Vogue, from everything she's done, it's all about the pictures, the media there showing how she's just one of you, right? What she's just a hardworking, working class individual. She cares about education. She cares about the environment. And she doesn't do anything, though. That's my whole point. It's just photo ops. And here she is again with the Sunrise Movement. And this is where they took a bunch of, look at all the cameras, right? Look at all the cameras focused on her. And then all you see in the media is, oh, AOC goes and stands with Sunrise Movement protesters, which, by the way, another plug, Robbie Yeager has been talking about the Sunrise Movement's funding, that they take dirty, dark
receipts.
money. And not only that, I mean, he just goes into this whole web of with the receipts and every single breakdown and just how corrupt they are. And again, if you read the whole Fourth Industrial Revolution and look into the Great Reset, you can see that a lot of these institutions that claim to be pro-environment are actually pro-privatization of the environment and are making so much money off of this whole environmentalist climate change, combating, but really they're not combating anything at all. They're just propping up this narrative, right? And that's what
they
a
are
lot
being
of people
dangerous. They're duping people.
They're duping people, and they're using kids, because a lot of the people who joined Sunrise were kids, who really had great intentions. And it was the leadership too that is very problematic. And of course, there was also that person that spoke out, and they were scared about speaking out. I mean, this is real with the Sunrise Movement. I used to advocate for the Sunrise Movement. I knew people who were in it, right? So it's bad. And this is once again AOC doing that. But just the bottom line, right? The truth is, all of the squad ran on Medicare for all. Now they don't talk about it. They're not talking about it. Access to healthcare, expansion of Medicare.
Ooh.
That's all. They become the next generation of Nancy Pelosi's. They're, like Steve said when he was on our show, they're going to replace the old guard. They're not going to change it.
Yeah.
They're
not there to fight the old guard. They're there to replace it. And listen, with a little help from their friends, mainstream media, they kind of spin it off as like, AOC and the progressives are battling against Nancy Pelosi and it's an all-out war. So then when it ends, it was like, look, they fought the establishment for
Right.
years. Now they are the establishment. Yeah, they worked with the establishment the whole fucking time. Everybody knows it. So, great resetter. Anything? No?
Oh, freaking QAnon conspiracy theorists. I mean, yeah, you guys hit all the bases on that. Like, they're at the end of the day, that's what's disgusting about the Great Reset and the agenda for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, is that it's looking to weaponize kind of the most energetic aspects of our culture, because that's what's often the catalyst for change.
Right.
So they saw the explosion of protest last summer, and they thought, ooh, that's gonna look real good, pushing deep sea mining in the Pacific Ocean and more nickel mining in Tanzania and around all of Africa. So that's what a lot of these leaders do. And research into Klaus Schwab's past, founder of the World Economic Forum, done by a good friend of ours, Johnny Vedmore, has shown that Klaus has always had an interest in young people. So they're using young people and youth movements in this like kind of like vibrant culture to try and push their agenda, which ultimately won't benefit us in the end.
Yeah. And you should say his name, Mr. Schwab's name, right? Klaus Schwab.
Okay, okay, white man.
But
okay.
but it's funny
White
though.
man.
White. It's funny how both sides use different types of emotions to dupe their people into shit. Both sides do it. You know what I'm saying? And this is like, you have to be compassionate. You have to be careful. Minorities and people of color, do the right thing. Don't look into the nuances of what they're really trying to do, but just come along with us and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and the other side is like, oh, there's pedophilias, and we have, you know, a chosen one who was recruited by QAnoners and the military person and Donald Trump to go fix all these problems that we have. And it's like they just use emotion.
It's culture war.
And it's a bunch of people just sitting back going, what the fuck is going on?
And just to reiterate that what Glory said, the Sierra Club is the organization that's above the Sunrise Movement, and the Sierra Club has been a liberal organization forever now. Like it's basically, it is so bad. Nothing gets done. You don't see any sort of work towards stopping any sort of climate crisis. They just make money off of that. It's a big money making machine, and their little baby is the Sunrise Movement. So
said this over a year ago. We all been saying how the squad, especially AOC, is some of the most dangerous Congress people out there because they are duping people left and right. Let's get to some Super Rays. Johnny, anything on that? Love your hair. It's looking fly today, brother. Rob McMurtry, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. With Glory. Oh, come on. Let's please one more. Nah, Trey Wright. Come on, Trey. I can't stand that baby voice imperialist fascist piece of garbage. Mama Bear Pelosi is so proud of her cub. Neil Breen is as a better actor than AOC. Who's Neil Breen? I don't even know who Neil Breen is. He's probably a terrible actor. Trey, we love you here. We appreciate everything you do for us.
Emblem Fate.
AOC going full Hillary, no economic policy, but at least she's corrupt and a woman. By the way, let's all RMR, Susan Rice, who spread the Gaddafi Viagra lie, is rehired. So Dems really don't care about big lies. They just like pandering. Emblem Fate, you're so true over there too as well. The whole situation. I mean, come on, these are warmongers over here. Let me holla at Holla. Love Holla Ishmael. The Convo Couch. The Convo crew.
I feel like I'm in a cage right now. Jeez.
Stop.
Damn.
The Convo Couch keeps me sane. Thank you.
Aww.
Thank you, Holla. We love Holla. We always love the Holla at Holla. And Shadowban Refugee. Point of personal privilege. It's imperative that we allow more women of color the opportunity to institute slave markets in Libya and fund Jabhat al-Nusra and al-Islam to ensure other women of color are forced into slavery and forced to wear a niqab. Did I say it right?
Pam, I just want you to say it
for their liberation from evil dictators. Also, we need more gay men funding Saudi Arabia to throw gay men off rooftops and behead them. So, you know, it's a little... that's so true. It's the intersectional fascism, right? You know what I'm saying? We talked about the same thing with the imperialism and stuff like that. What difference does it make? Madeleine Albright, right? She was all for the sanctions. I think it was worth it. 500,000 children died. But she was a woman
Yeah. Anna loves her.
And I love what's his name right now? Oh my God, who's our Department of Defense right now? General Lloyd Austin.
Yeah, Lloyd Austin, Black Raytheon.
It's a breath of fresh air to have a man of color for the first time ever hold that position, Glory. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I feel
Guy
so
was on the
honored.
fucking board of
Intersectionality
Raytheon.
matters, Glory.
Yes.
I feel so honored.
All right.
I really do.
He was on the board of Raytheon before he took the fucking job.
I mean, good.
Oh
he should
my
know.
Lord,
He has
Carrie Mark.
experience.
No conflict of interest whatsoever.
Zero.
Hey,
The
that's
bombs
way it
they've been
is.
dropping on the Iran-backed militias probably came from Raytheon. I'm so happy the Convo Couch fam is aware.
Caveat to that, actually, a lot of, well, this isn't necessarily on the American side, but on the Israeli side, a lot of their weapons come from the Elwood arms factories. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because there's a group called Palestine Action that actually goes to those factories and tries to shut them down and prevent them from making weapons. And a couple of their activists were actually arrested because, it's a pretty hardcore thing to do to try and shut down an arms factory. But I mean, it's just something I wanted to bring attention to as long as the little segue was there. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's, we talk about places we can go and protest, and we are like even be very careful about.
And this is in the UK.
Yeah.
That this is happening.
Imagine in the United States, people out in front of Raytheon are stopping them when they're trying to haul these missiles down the road on these big friggin' trucks. Carrie Mark, I am so happy the Convo Couch fam is aware of the scandal, of the scandemic. Scamdemic, thank you. It is a scandal. And Trey Wright, watch
Trey.
Fateful Findings. You'll thank me later.
Okay.
Yeah. That and the movie Rigged just came out. We're going to watch a lot of movies and stuff like that. So I want to thank everybody who's joining in today. Thank you, Hala, and everybody else who left those lovely, lovely super rays. We have 40 thumbs up, but we have 66 people hanging on out. Let's hit the thumbs up button. And if you're over on the YouTubes, we're almost near 300. Thomas Boosie, Diva of the Free Council, Jilly Love, Abolish Politicians, Propaganda Live, Josh Davis, Abolish Politicians, Miguel H, DC, all you guys. Get on over to the Rokfin, R-O-K.
Josh Davis, what's good?
And Glory says hi to Josh Davis. We love Josh. He's awesome. He's always hanging out, and he's always appreciated on the couch. Fam, the next section, more proof that we are living in Orwell's 1984. So, this is a new proposed law in Ohio.
We live in a simulation.
Proposed law making cell phone video of cops a crime moves forward by Ohio legislators. A proposed law that would make it a crime to shoot cell phone video of police got the green light by lawmakers to move forward following a state House committee hearing Thursday in Columbus. Members of the House Criminal Justice Committee voted to approve measures despite more than 100 civil rights, First Amendment groups, and individuals testifying against the measure since it was first introduced. They are trying to make it illegal, and this comes after the guy who filmed George Floyd.
I know, the woman.
The woman.
Yeah.
Illegal to film, that you're obstructing justice.
Yeah, I mean, imagine where
Holy shit.
where Derek Chauvin would be, and where the knowledge of what was happening would be if we couldn't film cops doing that. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious? Jesus fucking Christ! I'm so sorry. Like that to me is, it's like, oh, let's put Derek Chauvin behind bars, but then let's make a law that makes it illegal to do what actually helped bring justice to that one case. I mean, and that's just one of many cases that we've seen videos of, right? Like, oh my God.
I mean, how are they going to do this? Stop filming us. Stop filming us. What do you mean?
Well,
how am I obstructing? I'm 10 feet away. I'm on the fucking sidewalk. I can't film you. See, but this is the area too as well. We talk about those right-leaning libertarians who are always on top of this shit, right? The no-knock warrant fucking thing. They might not have the same reasons of compassion, whatnot. They might just be about civil liberties and saying the right to personal freedoms. But who cares at the end of the fucking day? If we can join together with these people, because I grabbed this off David Feit, who's a libertarian. I've been on his show before. We met him in New York. Who cares? If it's protecting our civil liberties, at the end of the day, if we all win, we all win. You know what I'm saying? We can all protect each other.
If we don't have freedom of speech or freedom of press or freedom to dissent and disagree, we're not going to be able to talk about our fucking ideology.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to be able to talk about, oh, we want Medicare for all. Well, no, I don't want Medicare for all. We can't even have that discussion at all. Like, because we're not going to be able to have discussions, period. We're going to be told what to think. We're going to be told, we're going to be in our houses where we can't film cops, or we can't confront the overreach of the government and the police state and their agencies. We can't do that. So it's irrelevant, I think, to say that we can't agree with a libertarian on this issue. And that's the thing. Like, yes, they do it for different reasons, but at the end of the day, if you're fighting for press freedom, if you're fighting for like the ability to speak your truth, to dissent, to do whatever, then I think that's more important than your intricate beliefs. We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an oncoming wave in the West of people trying to silence dissent, especially dissent that happens on the ground in the form of protest. Like, I actually remember that they tried to do the same thing in France under, everyone's favorite neoliberal who got bitch slapped, Emmanuel Macron. They tried to criminalize filming the police with your phones, and there were protests against that. And then obviously you have the absolutely horrendous protest bill in London, which is literally just making the whole idea of protesting illegal, because what it does is it gives cops to basically do whatever they want to declare a protest illegal if it's too noisy or too disruptive or blocking traffic. So they're just straight up making it illegal. Meanwhile, here you have several states which are legalizing protesters getting run over by cars.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Disgusting.
your event isn't illegal, but if a mysterious white van were to run over 5 people, then that would be okay.
Yeah, yeah. And you can see how both sides, of the aisle, when it comes to the establishment, right or left, are using it to their advantage to shut down and take away civil liberties from what they disagree on. I mean, a lot of people talked about Ron DeSantis and praised him for the bill when he was going after big tech as far as fining them. And that's going to be interesting to see how that plans out. And I'm really happy he did that. Even his election integrity bill, I thought was pretty fair too as well. But the fact he's going to go and sign into law.
Because he plays team sports.
Yeah.
It's team sports once a fucking again. And that's the thing when you watch a lot of these hearings, and I've watched a lot of these hearings, especially when it comes to big tech, a lot of the Republican Party, most of the Republican Party are not mad at censorship. They're mad at who we're censoring.
Yeah.
Why aren't we censoring China and Iran more? What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
But we can censor, it's disgusting. You have this little group of right-wing libertarians out there that kind of are pushing for civil liberties. And it's the same thing when it comes to anti-imperialist, right? So they're about fiscal policy. It costs too much for war, right? And we'll have blowback, a term coined by Ron Paul, the libertarian himself. It's different than us because we keep on saying, no, man, we have to be compassionate. We're bombing indigenous people in their homeland, killing babies. This is fucking wrong. At the end of the day, we have the same goal. Stop it. Done. Let's not go and invade. Let's stop the regime change. Let's stop these NGOs pumping tons of money in there to turn everything over. Okay, so the last part of the article of this week, all week, was pilled. The one that says Ohio House, the next tweet, Johnny. If you go down to it, says ohiohouse.gov legislation right there. Just to take a quick look, and we'll move on from here. You got it. We'll move right now. So yeah, you can see it's introduced in the House committee, reported by the committee, and it's passed by the House. So now it's got to go through the Senate. So half of the fucking legislation has now approved this bill that you cannot film police as they're doing their job. You can't hold them accountable. In other words, they get to work on behalf of the state and do what the hell they want, and nobody's going to stop them. It's a disgusting bill. It's terrible. We need to fight back against it. I'm just going to read this really quickly. I'm not going to go into this, but Colby, you may have been exposed to harmful extremist content. Violent groups try to manipulate your anger and your disappointment. You can take action now to protect yourself and others. And this is a new Facebook warning that says, are you concerned that someone you know is becoming an extremist? It's 1984.
Yeah. They're encouraging you to rat
out on each other.
Yeah.
And they're giving you all outlets, and they're giving you shit that you can click to for help. Get support from the help center. This is some fucking scary shit over here.
Yep. And then I think I've added the
Whitney Webb.
Yeah, Whitney Webb tweeted this. She said, look, this is so every time I open Facebook, this is what pops up now. You may have been exposed to harmful extremist content recently, and it's a picture of Tara Reid. It's Tara Reid, about Tara Reid talking about on Primo Nutmeg or Primo Radical.
Yeah,
it was, but talking about what happened, right? And it's like this is crazy. Tara Reid is now like something extremist.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
It's ridiculous
It's
whether you
insane.
believe her or not to even try to consort it to fucking that she's a fucking terrorist because Joe Biden's the president now. I mean, this is disgusting what they're doing.
And I just wanted to point out, Johnny, too, I added this tweet. I just wanted to point this out, that Pelosi has appointed Liz Cheney to the select committee, by the way.
Diversity.
Yeah.
Diversity, fam.
Liz Cheney, a woman, warmonger. That's what we need.
Diversity.
And real quick, Glory, you wrote an article yesterday.
I did.
And just sum up what you were talking about in this article. And it was about the need to raise hell for Assange.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna see if Johnny was gonna pull it up, but yeah, I'll go into it anyways. Basically,
It's in the folder.
the Julian Assange case, the whole prosecution of Julian Assange as part of this grander war on information and information activism is so compromised and absurd that it's really gotten to the point where we have to take it into our hands as the people to do something about it. I mean, just some instances of how the case is compromised include the recent narrowing of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, UC Global spying on most of Julian's meeting with his legal defense.
Yes.
And on behalf of the CIA and through Sheldon Adelson too.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have recent news, which basically showed how a professional sociopath and a certified nonce, Siggy, who okay, I've been saying this a lot lately because Siggy's in the news, but for those of you that don't know, nonce is like British slang for pedo.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's an underused term over in America, so I thought I'd compensate for that. But yeah, Siggy, certified nonce, him and everybody's favorite little rat, Sabu, aka Hector Monsegur, formed most of the prosecution's argument against Julian Assange for hacking.
Yeah.
And it was recently revealed that Siggy essentially lied in most of his testimony and embellished several details which compromise the legal arguments of the prosecution even further, on top of the fact that it's already so asinine to be prosecuting a journalist under espionage, an Australian journalist under a US law. And then you also have the fact, which beginning with the judge herself was already compromised because the supervisor of the case, Vanessa Bracer, supervisor Lady Arbuthnot, and we couldn't find anything on Vanessa Bracer. There's little to find on her, but Lady Arbuthnot, who's her supervisor, her and her husband had ties to the military, to the military industrial complex and the Turkish lobby, both of which were exposed by Julian and WikiLeaks. So there's that, and then there's also the fact that we can't rely on judges. We can't rely on any legal arguments because it's already asinine enough. And then we can't rely on any politicians. That's for sure. And for all we know, we honestly can't even really we can't rely on NGOs mounting some kind of special pressure campaign, because what's happened, like, y'all know me because I single-handedly ratioed Christophe Del Wire, who's the Secretary General of Reporters Without Borders, who when face to face in a Zoom meeting with Antony Blinken couldn't mention Julian Assange's name. Reporters Without Borders upgraded the US in their press freedom rankings despite the fact that the case is still going on, and they're just letting Western leaders brag about that for World Press Freedom Day. Oh my God. And then to go along with all these NGOs, you have ties between Julian's own legal team and Louis Fitzgerald QC and the Clooney Foundation for Justice, named after George Clooney, the CIA's favorite actor. And there are members of Julian's legal team who advise him legally, which sit on the Trial Watch Advisory Board to the Clooney Foundation, which not only is it a CIA regime change front, but it doesn't mention Julian's name. So
Jesus.
It's like, how can we possibly rely on any sort of professional actors now? How can we, when there's so much questions about surrounding this whole thing, like how can we trust any of these people involved? So that's why we need to take it into our hands. And I mean, I've said this before, like this is probably the 50th time I've made this speech. This is probably like the 5th time I'm saying, oh, hey, here's a great day to start some Assange activism. But no, it's like time is been beyond time. And I hope this is the last time I have to give this speech, because it's time to go. July 3rd, Julian Assange's 50th birthday is a start. It has to be. Please, if Home Run for Julian wasn't a start for you, then his 50th birthday spent in Hellmarsh prison has to be, because otherwise we risk this happening again, because it didn't stop with Julian. It kept going with the persecution of journalists here in Los Angeles. It kept going with the kidnapping of Commander X from Mexico to the United States. It kept going with the constant war on information and hacktivists and leaktivists. So we have to stop it now. The Assange case is a turning point in more ways than just trying to save an activist and a journalist. It's about like trying to revive press freedom's corpse.
Yep, yeah, we are all Julian Assange. I saw the Italian Parliament members, they called for freedom for Julian Assange the other day, literally holding up pictures of Assange in Parliament. Has there been any movement from the Australian Parliament that you know about now that this information has come out about this new witness who's John Shipton, Julian's father, said, "Turn turtle," which was the term he used. Has there been any movement from the Australian Parliament or the government over there to say, hey, enough is enough, let Julian go?
There are a couple allies within parliaments around the world. I think, like, just in parliaments around the West, we have obviously Claire Daly and Andrew Wilkie, I think that's how you say his name. And then you have a couple others like the Italian Parliament. I know recently there was an action by Team London, big shout out Team London, where they met with some Labour members of Parliament. I think it was 20 something of them, who wanted to deliver a letter to Belmarsh to be able to, visit Assange. So there are some allies in Congresses, but the fact of the matter is it's not kind of profitable to your political career to be an ally of Assange. And the system is engineered in a way that you have to be kind of corporate PR agents for the empire and nothing more. Yeah. Because, like, it's great to see allies in Congresses and legislatures around the world, but we don't have enough time to wait for those good people to pop up. We have to kind of take it into our own hands.
Yeah.
When people say we are all Assange, can you put that into context for people out there and stuff? Because I hear a lot of people say that, but...
Yeah. I mean, in actuality, when they're going after Julian Assange, they're not just going after Julian, they're going after all of us, because what this case does is, if Assange is extradited, it will grant the U.S. empire international jurisdiction over journalism. And when you look into the crimes they're accusing Julian of, it basically boils down to source protection and sharing and publishing information, which is adversarial to the prevailing establishment narrative. And that's journalism.
Yeah, no shit.
That's journalism that they are trying to criminalize. And even though you might not be a journalist, you do the act of journalism way more than you think you do. And it's something that all movements rely on, that we rely on to be able to have some kind of change in our society. Like, if we can't share information that's adversarial to the government's narrative, then our causes will suffer, because there is so much propaganda going into making sure that the fight for our causes is suppressed from the get-go. Yeah. So if we can't break through that initial stage of trying to educate people, of trying to share information that debunks the prevailing propaganda narrative, then we're screwed.
Yeah. It seems like the main message from the predator class is that we can do what the fuck we want, and we don't want you to know. And anybody who fucking shows the people the truth, we're going to make sure that you pay at the end of the day. And that's when I say we are all Assange, like you said. You know, now we can't even, with the Ohio thing, now they don't even want you to pull out your phone and record what's going on. I mean, it's scary times. But
yeah, politicians aren't your friends.
Yeah, they're not at all. Your article is amazing. I can't wait to get into it even more. I got to peek at it last night. Ladies and gentlemen, go to Glory Jones. Go to her Twitter and check it on out. She's got it up there. Read it, share it. This is very important right now.
And I'm glad you're addressing this now, because it kind of reminded me of the Bernie Sanders campaign, how people didn't address the intricate issues within.
Oh, yeah, I saw Ryan Grimm address that.
Oh, yeah, he's the only one that reported on it first, by the way. Yeah.
Guys,
oh,
I don't
and you
know
know
what
who
you're
works
talking
for the
about.
Intercept now, too? Jordan Sheridan. It's just wonderful.
broke
And
some
now
news,
he's defending Ryan Grimm and defending all these, this whole, like, oh, I'm above it all. Like, be a friend. Dude, be a friend to somebody who stood by your side and tell the truth. And it's important. There's a difference between drama, by the way, and defending journalism and defending people against smears, because the truth tellers are the ones getting smeared right now. We have seen constant attacks on people who are anti-imperialists, who are diverting from the state narrative, and and when you don't stand up for that, right, there are a million more things to cover than stupid Twitter fights. But when we're talking about it from the journalistic aspect, from the ability to dissent, the ability to tell the truth, you can't scoff at that. That's why, like, it's so important to all of us to continue speaking out against bad actors who are like establishment useful idiots. They're tools of the oligarchy, and they're never, and it irritated me, Glory, to see Ryan Grimm at a panel in DC with a bunch of Assange people, like, who have been doing the work forever. One of those didn't fit in there, right? It was like, I was like, why Ryan Grimm out of all people, right? It's just so gross. The Intercept, what they've done, how they're at fault for Reality Winners arrests. They don't protect their sources. They push Bellingcat. I mean, I could go on and on about the Intercept, but yeah.
Karyaku, I believe, have some beef with them too as well.
Fuck you, Intercept.
Yeah, the Intercept, please. Got some great, talented journalists out there. Even the guy who started it left. He bugged on out. All right, so let me read some Super Rays real quick, and then we'll get out of here. Where's Johnny? Coming down real quick.
Johnny Phone had to take a phone call.
All right, we read that ARAM one. And Rob McMurtry. Thank you so much, Rob McMurtry, for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated.
Rob, I don't like you, Rob. I'm sorry, you're canceled. He's canceled.
Rob McMurtry, right here in the heart. That's where you stand. Love you, Rob McMurtry.
God. All right, that's it. I'm leaving.
Trey Wright, our boy Trey. I can't stand that baby voice imperialist fascist piece of garbage. Oh, yeah.
I think you already read that.
Oh, I owe you one.
Yeah, you do.
I owe you one.
Did you read that one too? You read all of them. I think you went back.
Fam,
you read like all of them.
No, we got a couple more right here. Okay. We didn't do this one. Someone should do a video where AOC and Mama Bear, Nancy Pelosi, walk past progressives while the song "Don't You Forget About Me" from Simple Minds plays. I'll be alone, dancing away,
God.
baby.
Why did you start?
Give me your troubles and doubts, giving everything inside and out. Okay. Lost dreams will pull us
I'm
apart.
gonna pull my hair out. That's
Everything. Guys, you don't remember the Breakfast Club? All right, you guys do. You know SpongeBob. You don't know the Breakfast Club. I'm fucking old. ARAM, thank you so much. The reason that Britain is delaying things to the extent that they are suggests that when an appeal ruling comes down, the ruling will be in Assange's favor. And that was before the key witness retractions. And it should be understood that many of the most important wins have been through the courts, even if requiring appeals. So, if Assange survives, there's a likelihood of a release. Your thoughts on that, Glory?
I'd be okay with Julian being let out. I mean, I think that would be a win, but also I think and I'm honestly not sure, because of kind of a lack of communication between activists and the legal team, what's going on with this, but a cross appeal to the decision needs to be filed, because the way the decision was made was Vanessa Baratzer pretty much agreed with every single argument made by the prosecution, and then refused to extradite Julian on mental health grounds. So basically, because the decision was set up that way, the door is still very much open for that to happen again, as long as it's someone who's presumably in a better mental state than Julian is. So, I mean, like, some sort of cross appeal needs to happen. There needs to be some sort of other action taken to refute the rest of the trash decision, because even though it denied extradition for Julian, it was still a trash decision.
Shadowban Refugee said, I would have campaigned for Trump if he released Assange, but alas, he's a cuck. I'll call my Congress daily to leave messages, hoping for a miracle. On the lighter note now, all of you, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Orale!
My bad.
She knew. Love you, Shadowban Refugee. Love his energy. We gotta go to New Mexico later, guys. Glory 7 Deadly Sins finished. I hope you enjoyed it, but I
can't.
I will
watch
always
it, bro.
remind you how bad season 3 was. Guys, you have a good one.
Bruh,
One
they
later.
really hoed us on the animation so bad. They ruined what was supposed to be one of the best fight scenes of the whole series. They haven't regained my trust enough yet for me to continue watching it, although I did keep reading the manga, so I know what happens.
You know, this is all like the shit you do. When we do karaoke and you start doing an anime song, I'm like, what the fuck is going on over here and stuff? Fam, we got some good news, okay, about the whole White House. They put out a tweet. It says, planning for a cookout this year.
God, I saw this.
Catch up on the news. According to the Farm Bureau, the cost of 4th of July barbecue is down from last year. It's a fact that must be heard. Hot dog, the Biden economic plan is working. Oh my
It's
God.
working because
And
it's
that's
down
something we
16 fucking cents.
And that's something we can all relish.
Also,
Relish.
Also, I saw that video they put out. That's a trash ass, bland ass, face ass looking ass barbecue they got going. They had like ground beef and like some dry ass looking beans.
Yeah.
Who brings vanilla ice cream to a fucking barbecue?
Vanilla ice
Vanilla people.
You know what, pasta? And none of that is vegan, I bet.
None.
Yeah.
None.
Look,
But
potato. You're gonna die from eating this food. Like, don't people realize that you're?
and
gonna
it's
die from eating
16
this
cents
food?
savings on
What
the
will
whole fucking
16
thing.
cents do?
What will
16
16
cents
cents
for
do
you
for
and
you
your
and your
family?
family?
That barbecue looked trash.
All right, we
What
got to
would
get
it
out of
do?
here. Is that all the Super Rays? I believe it is. Guys, want to thank everybody out there for joining us today. Oh, we got another one. Roar Media.
Thank you, Roar Media.
Yes,
Media.
you are old pasta. Welcome to the party, pal. That's the last one we're going to do. We want to thank you all for coming out. Johnny, if you could put up the last one thing from Julian Assange's picnic tomorrow. It is his 50th birthday, guys. Come on out. Join us. I'll be making the Bit Burger, Pasta's house burger, vegan style, garlic aioli, tomato
Jesus
jam,
Christ. Oh,
pickles,
they already
cheese,
heard the first
onions.
time.
Beautiful. We tested it today. It's amazing. Come on out. Thank you so much. We love you all. For Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella.
Johnny Sue on the 1s and 2s, and Glory Jones in the Haas.
Convo out. Happy birthday, Julian.
Happy
Yes.
birthday, Julian. Come see us
Free
tomorrow
Commander
at Echo
X,
Park.
free them all.
Yes.